Good evening, everybody, or good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining from in the world. Um, you're very welcome here today to our information webinar about our new Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. We have Dr. James Brunton, who's the program chair, who is going to give us a thorough overview of the program. But first, just to give you a bit of idea of the structure of the evening. So James is first going to give us an overview, and then we'll have a chance for you guys to ask any questions that you have, and we'll work through as many questions as possible. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see a Q&A option, so you can drop your questions in there as we go, and then at the end of the session, we'll come and answer as many as we can. So yeah, over to you, James.
Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for giving up your time today to come and listen to a bit of a briefing on our fully online Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. My name is Dr. James Brunton. I'm an assistant professor in the School of Psychology here in DCU. And I've been working for many years on online programs here in the university, and this is the one that I'm currently chairing, and I'm going to be talking to you about this tonight. And then hopefully, yeah, as Frank was saying, that we can look at some of the questions that you might want to ask if it's not covered in what I talk about over the next little while. So the two aspects of the program that are important to speak about are the fact that this is an undergraduate psychology program and that it is a flexible, fully online, open education program. So I'm going to try and tackle both of those topics tonight. Um, as uh, and I think that's very important because it's likely that it is the combination of these two things that's brought you to the information session. So what is psychology? Psychology is the scientific study of human mind and behavior, how we think, how we act, react, interact, both individually and as groups. Psychology is about why we love, why we hate, why we lash out, why we run to someone's aid or not, how we develop as people, what influences that development, why do some people suffer from mental health difficulties, and what can we do to help them? All these kinds of really interesting and very engaging questions about what it is to be human. Um, why do we do what we do? Why do we think what we think? Why do we feel what we feel? So the program that we're talking about tonight is the Bachelor of Arts or BA in Psychology. So this is an honors undergraduate program. It's a level 8 on the Irish National Framework of Qualifications. The program can be completed in 4 years, but there is a registration limit of 8 years. So there's flexibility there in how quickly or slowly you move through the program, but you need to make a plan for completing the program in 8 years. The program is made up of 12 modules, which you can see on screen. Um, and you need to complete all 12 modules in order to graduate with the degree. So the modules are designed to cover the core areas of psychology. So in social psychology, developmental psychology, cognitive psychology, biopsychology, and very importantly, psychological methods for conducting scientific research. And you can see there are other topics there slightly beyond the core pillars of psychology. So you've got organizational, educational, psychological perspectives on mental health. And all these serve to give you the core areas of psychology and round out your undergraduate education. As part of the program as well, you will have the opportunity to complete under supervision an independent research project in psychology. So you can see that that's kind of that you take that in your final year of the program, your final year project in psychology. Modules are split between foundation level, so we have our three modules at foundation level and post-foundation level. Foundation modules do not count towards your degree result at the end when you graduate, while all the post-foundation module results you obtain do count towards that final degree result. Uh, our modules, all the modules on this program, run across 2 semesters, beginning in early September and ending in early to mid-April. There is only one start time for modules, which is that point in early September. That there isn't any other points in the year that you can start modules. The modules are all worth 15 credits, and like this credit amount is relatively large compared to the credits that modules in other programs would have. Your typical kind of semesterized module might be 5 credits or 7.5 credits. So these are big 2 semester long, or sometimes we would say year long modules. Um, Another way of saying that you have to complete all 12 modules to graduate is that you have to build up 180 credits in order to graduate with the BA in psychology. Um, to talk about how you can move, how you can kind of move through this program, the maximum number of modules that a student can take that can register for in one academic year is 4. Um, in terms of a minimum, you can register for just one module in a year if that suits your life circumstances. And there are also processes where you can take a year out from studying. So you could have an academic year where you submit an application to kind of not take any modules, to take a year out and come back the next year. Um, to talk about, to talk, and I'll probably bring this up more than once. Um, the number of modules that you undertake each year will depend on your individual circumstances, how much space and time you have in your life for studying. We advise budgeting 10 to 12 hours uh, of study time per module per week. So, let's say you decide you want to register for 3 modules, so 45 credits in one academic year. You have to then look at your weekly kind of timetable and how that will be, between a September and an April, and say, how are you going to carve out 30 to 36 hours a week for this kind of study time? 45 credits, let's say 3 modules would be 3/4 of a typical full-time student's module load or study load in a year. So that's pretty heavy going. Um, there in a student's, now I said earlier that the maximum you can take in a year is 4, but in a student's first year, that is more limited. There's a limited number of possible module combinations in that first year. So the maximum that you can take in the first year is 3, and that would be those 3 foundation modules that you see at the top. What is psychology, exploring psychological research, and competencies and skills in psychology. Um, there are then rules around what you need to take before you can take some of the other modules. So, for example, students have to complete both what is psychology and exploring psychological research before you can take any of the post foundation modules. So you couldn't, in your first year, decide that you want to take what is psychology and social and organizational psychology, because you have to have completed what is psychology and exploring psychological research before you will be able to move on. And it's those kinds of rules that you have to learn in order that you can kind of plan out, what your route would be through the program, in order to graduate in the number of years that you want to. So I'm not going to go into every rule or every piece of guidance because this is just an information session, but it's just important to know that, this is a very flexible, modular program. It's not like other programs where you take year one and then in year two you have to take everything that's in year two. You know, you can create different pathways through the program. It's got flexible progression in that way, but it's not completely flexible. There are some rules that you have to watch out for and you have to plan around. There is an early exit award from the program. So there isn't just the BA in psychology. You can choose to exit with a diploma in psychology after you've completed 8 modules. But the thing to note about that diploma, about that early exit award, is that it's not a route into the field of psychology in and of itself. In terms of going on to postgraduate study in psychology or going into careers in psychology, you need the degree result for that. And also I would highlight that it's not straightforward to exit with the diploma and then later come back to try and get back into the degree to go and study towards the degree. The early exit award, it really is for people who, get to 8 modules and say, you know what, that's everything I want to do. I'm going to take that exit award because I'm not going to progress further. Is that this BA in psychology has evolved from, or it's a revised version of another online psychology program that began running in 2014. So we already have a vibrant online student community. I think a big and good example of that is um, online students in recent years, in the last couple of years, set up a student society called the Connected DCU Society. They created it to try and foster greater connections between off-campus learners. And now there's we have a vibrant community within the program, but across different online learner cohorts in DCU, they now have a student society specifically to kind of support each other and put on. They organize their own guest lectures. It's amazing. Um, we also have had over 100 graduates since 2014 on these online psychology programs. And going back further in time than 2014, DCU has over 40 years of experience in providing off-campus programs to those that need a flexible option in order to achieve their educational goals. So there's a long pedigree of distance education and then online education kind of behind the BA in psychology that we're talking about tonight. An important point around the program is also that it is accredited by the national accreditation body for psychology programs in Ireland, the Psychological Society of Ireland, or PSI. Um, Getting accreditation for a program is a process that the School of Psychology and the program team go through every 5 years. So a panel of reviewers from the PSI look at all aspects of the program, and if it meets their standards, the required standards, then the program is granted accreditation. And what this means is that in that accreditation period, students who graduate from the program and achieve at least a certain result at graduation, they gain eligibility to become graduate members of the PSI. And that's kind of you know, uh, part of how people are recognized as having qualifications in psychology. It also plays into eligibility for different postgraduate psychology programs. So it's part of career routes or study routes into the field of psychology. Um, Once you're in the program, however, even before you graduate, once you're a student on the program, you would be eligible for student membership of the PSI. The other thing to talk about, the other thing that people are often interested in is, where can this degree take me? What does a degree in psychology open up for you? Um, and I would say, as is the case with all undergraduate psychology programs. This is a broad-based first qualification in psychology. This kind of program can lead you into a myriad of different subfields of psychology in terms of, possible postgraduate study routes, possible career routes, or the degree could be combined with other qualifications from outside psychology. So some people might do an undergraduate degree in psychology and then move into community studies or then move into, some other non-psychology field and combine those two areas. Other people will study an undergraduate degree in psychology and kind of combine it with existing qualifications or existing work experience that they have in order to enhance an existing career. So it may be that you don't move fully into the field of psychology, but that gaining an undergraduate degree in psychology would be useful to the job that you're already in or to something in your life that you're already doing. The flip side of all that flexibility is that the degree itself, an undergraduate degree in psychology itself, does not directly lead into many job roles within the field of psychology, other than possibly work as a research assistant. Maybe there might be some other possibilities, but the expectation generally is that to work in a particular field of psychology, you would go on to complete postgraduate study in a particular area of psychology. So if you were interested in organizational psychology, you would not be able to move into that field with the undergraduate degree. You would go on and you would look at postgraduate courses like the Work and Organizational Psychology Masters in DCU Business School. And once you did that, then that would then, sort of open up further opportunities to actually move into the field of organizational psychology and jobs that would be in that area. And I thought it would be useful to use a picture of the career service for this slide. DCU has a great career service to help students plan for career moves, career changes. And sorry, skipping ahead. The other thing that I wanted to highlight is that um, doing a degree in DCU, it's not just, studying on the course for a couple of years and then graduating and then off you go and DCU is in the rear view mirror. Everyone who graduates from DCU becomes part of the DCU alumni community. And the DCU has a really positive and proactive approach to engaging with our alumni and trying to offer things to the alumni community to enrich their experiences. So, if someone is all, let's say, if someone moves to New York, if someone is already in New York, you know, I'm pretty sure there's a DCU alumni chapter in New York, but that's the idea. When you're off in different industries, living in different parts of the world, the DCU community can still be a resource to you, offering networking opportunities or offering, some career advancement advice. Or there's lots of different things that the DCU alumni office in DCU and the DCU alumni community can do for you when after you graduate. And also the other way around, we also offer lots of opportunities to graduates to engage back with DCU and where they want to, give up their time to mentor a second year. There's a DCU mentorship scheme where alumni mentor second years, or just give up your time to come back and sit on a panel or give a welcome talk. So there's your relationship with DCU goes on forever, far beyond just doing a program. So I just thought that was good. And then you can see lots of nice graduation photos that I put there. So how will you learn on this type of program? This is a flexible, fully online, modular uh, program. It is defined as part-time, again, because it has that flexibility. You can finish in 4 years, but it could be 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years that you move through the program. In terms of our teaching and learning model that we use on the program, there are three pillars that come together to, help learning happen, to facilitate learning happening. The first is that we develop online learning materials for you to engage with, for you to study. And along with other textbooks and other assigned readings, these online learning materials that we've developed allow you flexibly, because it's you and this material, you study that material in order to progress your learning. That is then supported in two different ways. The first one is the one that does not happen in real time. We have online discussion forums where at any time of the day or night, whenever you're studying or whatever part of the world, whatever time zone you're in, you can go on and you can leave a message, leave a question, leave an idea that you've had, share a resource that you found that you think is useful, and either a few minutes later, a few hours later, a few days later, uh, other students or the staff working in that module, teaching on that module, can come on and leave a reply. So in that way, you can have this asynchronous, not in real time, way of communicating with each other. And then on top of that, again, you have online classes and workshops um, that where you come together in real time um, in order to you know, listen to the people who are teaching the module tell you some things, but it's not a lecture. It's more, there might be some direct instruction, there might be some of that, explanation of core concepts or explanations of what's coming up in an assessment, but also there can be discussion, there can be activities. It is designed to be a participatory session rather than a lecture. Um, the synchronous classes, the online classes, online workshops, um, they happen on Monday and Thursday evenings, Irish time, and on Saturdays between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m., again, Irish time. Um, all the online classes and workshops are recorded for later use, barring human or technical error. And again, to kind of reinforce that idea that this isn't a lecturing based model. The model is really, you study the online learning materials, you communicate through the discussion forums, and then you have these periodic online classes where you kind of check in, in order to try and bring all of that learning together. And I suppose to explain that, if you take a typical module, the foundation module, what is psychology, you would have 18 hours of contact time of online classes between early September and early to mid-April. You couldn't lecture a big module like that in 18 hours. So that the online classes are really to try and focus on the things that really need to be discussed in a real-time setting. Um, and kind of, just they're the capstone on top of everything else. The research methods module, so let's say the foundation module exploring psychological research, um, that there are more contact hours. There are much more contact hours there in that module. So, that's a good thing to know, is if you're registering in a year for a research methods module, then you know that that's going to be there's going to be a lot more logging in online for an online workshop or an online class with the research method. And that's any of the modules that kind of say research methods in the name. Um, each module has a number of assessments across the 2 semesters, and we use a variety of different assessment types: essays, report writing, research methods, assignments, where you could be practicing doing an interview or learning how to do statistics, doing some statistics, but also presentations, reflective diaries, or doing reflections, presentations, recorded presentations or live presentations, all sorts of, in-class tests. all sorts of different assessments are used. The modules are 100% continuous assessment, so there are no formal end of year exams. It's all assessment during the module. Students on this program have a good amount of flexibility in terms of time, place, and pace of studying with this model that I'm describing. Um, and as I've already been talking about, students also have great flexibility in that they can vary the number of modules that they can register for in a given year. But what you have to remember is once you do register for a number of modules, you then have that workload. So you have to really assess how much space you have in your life. You know, who do you need to go negotiate with in your life for that time and space to study, and try to tailor the number of modules you register for to that available space. You know, time is the currency of online learning. And all of that learning activity that I've been describing is packaged up for you to engage in within what we call a virtual learning environment or a VLE. And in DCU, we call our VLE loop. And like this is a screenshot of just part of the what is psychology model where you can see, you can see a discussion forum, introduction to psychology and higher education learning skills. Like that's a what we call a Moodle book. There's a load of learning material in there. There's some quizzes to kind of check your knowledge. Uh, oh, and I think I cut it off, but just below where you can see there's the area where you would find an assessment. Um, So just to briefly go over the entry requirements, this is a fully online program. It is also what is called an open education program. The entry criteria to the program are created in order to widen participation in higher education. So applicants aged over 23, as you can kind of see there, are eligible for admission to the program. So if there is an available space, and you make an application and you're over 23, then you will be offered that place. There are no further boundaries. What is important there, though, is that you have done that kind of self-assessment that you are ready to study at higher education level. Applicants under 23, between 18 and 23, uh, they have to satisfy DCU's minimum entry requirements. And there's a website you can go and you can kind of look at what those are in terms of Irish CAO or British A levels or other types of exams. Um, and the other thing being, if you are an applicant from who is a non-native speaker of English, you also have to be able to show competency in the English language through particular test results. Two other things I would briefly mention there. Um, because because a substantial part of the research methods learning that students engage in uh, involves competency in mathematics that is roughly equivalent to pass leaving cert level, sort of at least. We put out that kind of advisory that if you let's say if you didn't complete a leaving cert, if you didn't do a leaving cert in maths, and you haven't then through your life been engaged with maths, or you're a little bit worried about your competency in maths starting off, uh, before you start onto this program, possibly, but before you apply to this program, you could look at sort of revising some leaving cert mathematics or looking for a kind of a leaving cert mathematics adult learning course or something like that in order to kind of brush up on maths. Also, because of the way the program is structured, and if you wanted to start the program, you could start the program taking other modules while you brush up on maths, and then maybe in your second year start taking the research methods modules. The other thing is this is a fully online program that uses technology. So, your learning experience as an online learner is going to involve engaging with technology. Yeah, and we know that people have varying degrees of technology skills and competencies, so you'll be able to develop them on the program, but you may want to look at your skills and competencies with technology. Are you familiar with using email? Are you competent at using the internet? Are would you be fine with downloading files and organizing files into folders and that kind of thing? Are you fine with kind of word processing packages like Microsoft Word and PowerPoint maybe? It's those kinds of tools that if you're familiar with all those tools, you are probably fine to start off and learn from there. If not, then again, you might want to look into, some digital skills courses or digital skills, um, you know, tools that might help you with that. You need to have access to a good quality computer or laptop, broadband connection, a headset, a webcam in order to be able to fully engage with online study. Um, yeah. So I just wanted to add that in to talking about entry requirements. The other thing to talk about is just DCU uh, in general. Um, Sometimes when people are, are signing on for this kind of fully online program where through your entire degree until you're invited to a DCU campus to graduate, you may never come on campus. And sometimes people have this feeling, am I really a DCU student if I am studying off campus, if I'm a fully online student? And the answer is yes, you are a DCU student. You get a DCU student card. At the end, you get a degree certificate that has DCU on it. And one thing that sometimes people ask, sometimes people wonder, it doesn't say your degree certificate will say BA, it will say Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. It won't say online. It doesn't say off-campus student or anything like that. It just your degree certificate is the qualification, is the degree that you've obtained. DCU has fantastic central services. There is an amazing student support and development unit with student advisors, a learning skills center, a careers service, a counseling service, a disability and learning support service for students with disabilities or different conditions that they can register with the university in order that they get the accommodations that they need. The library is amazing. The librarians in DCU are fantastic. The library has really great online services and resources that really suit the off-campus student. I mean, something I always say in these kind of sessions is I work in DCU. I haven't been in the library physically to obtain resources in I don't know how long, forever. You know, if I'm going to use something from DCU Library, I'm doing it online. I'm using their digital services. There's so much more that I could probably talk about DCU, but I will leave it there, and we will try and I